Welcome to Diabetes Day by Day, the American Diabetes Association's official podcast. It's hard to believe it's already April. Seeing the season change is a wonderful reminder of how we continue to grow and change by adapting new habits. How, as tough as things might be, because winter is always a challenge, that spring is coming and it's a time for revitalization and a time for moving forward filled with life. It is also National Move More Month. So it seems like a perfect time to talk about finding sustainable ways to increase movement. And we're going to talk about that issue of sustainable because it is not always easy. If you or someone you love is living with diabetes, you know how important movement is and that it is often a challenge to get going and even a bigger challenge to keep going. That's why we're spotlighting an incredible program from the American Diabetes Association. Project Power. It is a no-cost, community-based wellness initiative helping people of all ages build healthier habits, move more, and take charge of their health. I'm Dr. Neil Skolnik, professor of family and community medicine in the Sidney Kimmel Medical College of Thomas Jefferson University, and joining me, as always, is my co-host.
Hi, Neil. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this subject. I'm Dr. Sara Wettergreen, an assistant professor at the University of Colorado Skaggs School of Pharmacy and an ambulatory care clinical pharmacist.
And it takes lots of different perspectives to figure out how to start moving and keep moving. So in order to get those perspectives, sharing their expertise on this important topic, we've invited two guests with a lot of experience to join us. The first is David Rachal III, a nationally respected leader in medical fitness and wellness. David helped launch Project Power for adults in Louisiana and has reached kids nationwide with his virtual program. David, welcome.
Thanks, Neil. It's wonderful being here.
And our second guest is Adrienne Edge, the founder of ProFit Family Wellness. Adrienne has led Project Power youth and adult programs in South Carolina, impacting nearly 1,000, I'm going to say that again, 1,000 kids and countless families. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Let's start off talking about physical activity and how this relates to diabetes, obesity, and other metabolic diseases. And I'll start by saying, as a family doctor, this is core to what we do. In family medicine, as in all of medicine, prevention is paramount, and not a single day goes by where I don't talk to my patients about the benefits of exercise and the benefits of healthy dietary approaches. And I'm just going to share a few statistics with our audience to level set in terms of knowledge base and importance. And one, there was a wonderful study about 20 years ago called the Diabetes Prevention Program Trial that compared usual care to a rigorous program of diet and exercise to actually one of the commonly used medicines for diabetes, metformin, at a good dose. And what it showed, I think, changed our approach forever. And it showed that use of that medicine, and it was over 3,000 people in the study, use of that medicine in people with prediabetes decreased progression of diabetes by about 30%. But guess what? No medicine and diet and exercise, it did twice as good. It decreased progression by almost 70%. Wow, that really told us that what we always believed is in fact true. Real quickly, some other statistics. There was a study recently that showed that people who exercise 150 minutes or more a week over 20 years have a 25% decrease in the likelihood of dying of cardiovascular illness. Wow. I mean, this is just amazingly powerful. When we think about another health risk that we are all afraid of is cancer. It turns out there are a number of studies. People who exercise have about 50% decreased risk of developing colon cancer, about a third less chance of developing breast cancer. They also in other areas have less depression, less anxiety, And I think, as most of us know who have ever exercised, just generally feel better throughout the day, feel more vigorous and energetic. So I think we are clear that it is healthy, but it ain't easy to do. Sarah, your thoughts?
Exactly right, Neil. Yeah, I think you've sold us all on the benefits of exercise. If you weren't sold before, I'm sold now. And even those immediate benefits you feel after exercising sometimes is enough to get that motivation of maybe I didn't feel like exercising today, but I do want to feel better. So, what can I do to get that feeling back? I think when we talk about sustainable habits, what can make exercise hard or a challenge is to fit it in on those busier times of life where maybe you have a hectic work day, full schedule, other time commitments, and you're looking at the calendar thinking, where am I going to fit in an hour? But really, some of it can be those smaller chunks of exercise, even 10 minutes just to get a walk in at lunch break. Any of those small pieces can add up over time. So, hopefully, today we can talk a little bit more about Project Power itself and how that supports people looking at these goals, but also some individual goals that others can look at to bring a little bit more movement in throughout the day, small ways or big ways.
That's a really great point, Sarah. Often we talk about that goal of 150 minutes a week of exercise. That's a half hour a day. That can be a little intimidating. There's great evidence out there that even half that much, exactly what you said, that 10-minute walk every day gets you about two-thirds of the benefit that you get from that full amount of exercise that we really try to get to. But no matter what goal we set for ourselves, it's often hard to do. Many of us get a lot of enthusiasm and benefit from working with others. David, can you tell us about Project Power, what it is, who it's for, and where that might fit in for some people in fulfilling some of these goals?
Absolutely, Neil. So, Neil, Project Power is more than just a wellness program. It's a revolution in personal health empowerment. So if you look at it, it's designed for anyone who's just simply tired of traditional, and I hate to say this often, ineffective health advice, especially individuals who are managing diabetes or at risk of developing it. So when you look at our mission with the American Diabetes Association, our mission is to disrupt the conventional approach to wellness by creating something that's more realistic, enjoyable, and even impactful in reference to the lifestyle changes that people need to make. And you do it through community and personal accountability. And that's one of the things that I love about the program. On the other hand, when you look at it for kids, the program is dynamic, it's interactive. I love teaching it, and it incorporates play-based activity games, engaging lessons tailored to their developmental needs, and it encourages them to adopt healthy habits early. And we know that that's a very crucial time in human growth and development to get those habits in early. And then on the other end, Neil, when you look at the adult version, it dives deeper into self-awareness, habit transformation, the psychological insights. You have peer support, and then they're offering tools for sustainable lifestyle changes at any stage of life. It's a program that is geared to meet people where they are. And what I like to say is engage people where they are, mentally, physically, and emotionally, educate them on what to do, how to do it, and where to do it, and then empower them to take action. And so it's an all inclusive program that I think it fits every lifestyle.
That sounds wonderful. And I want to follow up actually on two things in order. You talked about starting early and focusing on kids. And then the other term that stood out for me was enjoyable, which is not what everyone thinks about when it comes to exercise. I want to come back to enjoyable. But Adrienne, I know that you're very involved in programs with kids. And one of the big issues in our country right now is kids are not moving, right? They're playing video games, they're spending a lot of screen time. Can you share some thoughts about that and how you approach that issue?
Absolutely. As David mentioned, Project Power for Youth, it is engaging. It is a lot of fun. We educate them as we go along. We talk about the types of foods that will fuel their bodies for fun, for play, for the activities that they want to do. But we also talk about movement and how that helps their mental and emotional health, how their families can get involved, how their friends can get involved. And then we do activities that involve the entire group. So you're not just sitting there listening. You're going to get up and you're going to do an activity. You're going to play a game. And then we're going to relate that back to what we're talking about in that topic. And then with screens, there's a whole class on screen time, and they get to actually calculate how many minutes or how many hours they spend on screens, not including school, the things that they need to do, but recreationally. And then we get to swap those minutes out for go activities, which is the things that get your blood pumping, things that are fun. So they actually walk away with not just, oh, I played, but in their minds, they're like, wow, I can swap out one show that I like to watch, or maybe like that time after school that I'm playing my video games, and actually go ride my bike and play. And not to give the screens up entirely, but making those small changes, it's teaching kids about consistency. It's teaching them about those small changes, just as you were talking about with adults. If 150 minutes a week seems too large, break it down. Same things with kids. If you can't imagine your day without playing Roblox, okay, what if we cut that time in half and you went outside and you played? Or maybe you drew a character or you drew something from there, and then you go play and do something interactive. So that's what I love about Project Power. It doesn't cut anything off, but it helps them see how they can swap, how they can make it fun, engaging, and active, and support play and the work they do.
Adrienne, that sounds fantastic. I'm curious what the reaction of kids is when you let them go through the process of looking at screen time, finding out how much they're doing, and then swapping that out for something else. Are you encountering a lot of resistance, or when they find what happens?
Oh, for sure, resistance, because they always underestimate the amount of time that they're spending on their screen. And a lot of the kids, because the youth program is tailored to kids between ages 5 and 12, some of those younger kids don't necessarily have a concept of what 30 minutes feels like or what an hour feels like. So when you put it into language that they understand, for some kids, it might be their favorite movie that they like to watch. That's about 90 minutes to 2 hours. If you put it in perspective of how long it takes them to get through one round of a game. So when you relate it to that, they're like, whoa, okay. And then you talk about the impact on their brain, or you talk about the impact on their body, and then they want to play around with it. And then you let them choose the activities that they could swap it out. So instead of me saying, you're going to go and ride your bike, or you're going to go and do some jumping jacks, whatever it is, they get to say, instead of doing this, I could do XYZ, walk my dog, things like that. And so having them participate in that helps to reduce I'm still just going to play my video games. They at least came up with their plan. And so it's more realistic for them to implement it too.
Boy, that sounds like a good lesson for all of us, whether we're involved in Project Power or not, giving kids choices, adults too, with replacement behaviors, because we all do better when we are the one in charge than when someone's telling us what to do. David, can I follow up on the question of enjoyable to you? And I want to come back to adults who often find it a bit intimidating to start a program and don't always enjoy things like going to the gym. If you're a gym person, you enjoy going to the gym, but the reality is a lot of us are not. And it's intimidating. There's people with big muscles there. And how do you approach making what might be difficult enjoyable for adults?
Neil, when in asking that question, I always speak to adults as if it's changing the framework of how you look at exercise or physical activity. There are many things that we do in life that are physical activity that you may not think about it. And it draws me back to my background in recreational therapy, where, you may not enjoy physical therapy. However, if you add an element of play to physical therapy, therefore you turning it into recreational therapy, that person who's actually receiving the therapeutic benefits of that activity, they don't make that connection of it being a task, but a form of play. So it becomes enjoyable for that individual. When you look at physical activity, it can be something as simple as dance. I have a cousin here in New Orleans where I reside. He is experiencing Parkinson's and it is progressive in its nature. But with that being said, I encourage him, look, dance. The second line is very popular down here. This is the home of jazz. Therefore, he enjoys dancing. So dancing is a form of physical activity that can be used for health benefits. And I always encourage people, find things that you enjoy in terms of play, because as adults, just as well as I do, Neil, that we have tasks. We're task oriented. We work, we come home, we try to relax, and then we don't have enough energy to quote unquote go out and exercise, which in fact create more energy for us to actually exist and operate through our activities of daily living. So for me, it's helping every adult find out what they enjoy doing and associating some sort of physical activity with it.
Isn't that something? You mentioned dance. There actually was a paper in the medical literature recently that looked at depression and it compared a number of different activities, one of which was dance, to standard treatment, which is SSRIs, a medicine for depression. Actually, dance did better than SSRIs in terms of resolution of depression. And I love the fact that you mentioned that because we all need to find our way to both to move and get out of our daily lives. Sarah, your thoughts?
Oh, I completely agree. I love that. And that study doesn't surprise me, Neil. I think there's also similar data around getting a walk in. And so, yeah, finding that form of movement that you enjoy is, I think, critical to making this a sustainable habit. I know for myself, I hate running, and a lot of people I work with who live with diabetes think of exercise as just running. And they think I haven't exercised because I haven't done the run or I haven't done a vigorous walk. And we have to talk a lot about what are the different ways you can get movement and what counts, so to speak. So I even think about things you do in your day-to-day lifestyle. I get my heart rate up cleaning sometimes too. You get really into a good cleaning mood, you get your heart rate up from that too. Let's
Hmm.
count it. If
I
you're
stay away
getting
from that, Sarah, but go on.
but yeah, maybe that's not joyful for everybody. It's good for me, but you have to find that form of movement that you enjoy, that you
Yeah.
will do consistently, whether it be dance, yoga, other types of movement. And so I really love that that's part of the message in Project Power is finding that activity that you enjoy and finding ways to do that regularly. Now, one key point I want to make and sure we discuss today is related to the stigma associated with type 2 diabetes. I saw that the motto of Project Power is no shame, no blame, just one aim. Adrienne, I'm wondering if you can share with us how does Project Power help break stigma? And I'm wondering how this program addresses that. How does it come up? And what types of experiences have you seen?
Yeah. So, from both of the work on the youth and the adult side, I think it addresses stigma by helping us understand that there's some level of improvement that we all can experience. It's not just because you're in this program. Number one, doesn't necessarily mean that you have type 2 diabetes. You may be pre-diabetic. You may just want to enhance your overall well-being. So that's stigma number one. It doesn't mean that you're lumped in this group, but we know that research shows that the measures and the lifestyle changes that are offered through both of these programs, that they do positively impact those that have type 2 diabetes or are severely at risk for that. So number one, it destigmatizes the fact that you're in this program because of something. This program is just something where you can come together with your community. I've done it with members of my church and members of my child's school, some of the teachers there, and they don't necessarily have diabetes, but they're like, you know what? I do need to get some habits. I do need to understand a little bit more about how my body works and what I can do to feel and look healthier. And I love that it does that. The other piece is that it makes it so that you actually remember the information, that it does teach you a lot, but it gives you small chunks, small bites, ways to implement what you're learning so that you actually carry it through. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix. It takes you into slow, realistic steps that you can implement and maintain, because it's not about how intense you can go. It's not about how much you can lift if you're not consistent with those healthy habits. And so I think that's another way that it helps with longevity. The other piece is I work a lot with faith-based communities. And when we think about ourselves, the Bible talks a lot about mind, body, and spirit. It's not separate. And I think a lot of times in our faith communities, we separate and silo those pieces out. And so when we can link our faith to our bodies and to our minds and our emotions, it gives us something stronger to stand on when our motivation may fail. When we don't want to take that walk, when we don't want to eat that healthier option, we have something a little more stable to stand on to be able to move forward. So all of those things that could keep us away from making these healthy habits because of what others may think or say, it's having that community, having that strong foundation, and taking the step even when our motivation may not want us to take that step.
Now, I love that idea, and it's so important because often when we talk about things, we try to get people motivated, but if we rely just on motivation wanes over time. And I think those are such important lessons. David, I'm curious some of the things that you might want to share about motivation in many ways is the spark that ignites the fire, but it's not the fuel that sustains the fire. We need something else. How do we sustain our activities? How does Project Power help to sustain activities when someone's been there a month and now they're, let's say, maybe not as excited?
Yeah, Neil, when you look at motivation, a couple of things that come to mind. The two different types that I like to discuss with individuals, you have your intrinsic motivation, all right, or internal, and you have your extrinsic motivation, which is external. And one thing that I find with the majority, including myself, you look for that external motivation, something from outside of you to motivate you to move in a direction, whatever the direction may be, positive, negative, mischievous, it doesn't matter. You're looking for motivation, and you can always find it, as we all know, on the internet, especially social media. And of course, those algorithms they pick up what you're constantly liking or engaging in, and they just feed you more of that. And I think that's something important to note to everyone, that if you are, in fact, you're someone who could benefit from external motivation, by all means, make sure that you're mindful of what you like on social media, because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they will feed you exactly what you like, and they're going to make sure that you see more of it. Now, from that perspective, you have the internal motivation. We've all been internally motivated to pick up certain behaviors that have stuck with us since childhood. If you think about it, Neil, you don't think twice about waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, and washing your face. It's something that is built within you, and yet it doesn't come across as a task. It comes across as something that benefits you. And when we take a look at motivation, and if we can do a mental shift in terms of it being a task to a benefit or even an opportunity, I think it helps us with sustainability, because sustainability is very important. When you look at motivation, you have to determine, where's that coming from? Is it sustainable? Is it something that I could use? And internal motivation is definitely something to look forward to, something to embrace and try to develop.
Adrienne, your thoughts?
Just one thing that I'll add to what David shared, I love breaking down the intrinsic and the extrinsic. And one thing that I love about Project Power is that it really does lean on the extrinsic to breed the intrinsic, because they're freebies. For the kids side, they get a jump rope, a t-shirt, a water bottle, all these things that, as we're talking about these different lifestyle changes and things that they can implement, they give them tools that they can actually use. And then they can wear the shirt to school and see each other in the hallway. They can carry their water bottle and keep each other motivated. Oh, my water bottle's empty. Oh, I just filled that kind of thing. And then for the adults, they know that we like freebies too. And so You get a digital scale, like a body composition scale. You get a watch, a digital fitness watch, all these things. And so they really understand that you can't just provide information. You have to also bridge that gap and take the excuse out that we don't have what we need. No, Project Power is going to give you those tools that you need, and then you can see what works for you and then build from there. So it takes kind of those extrinsic freebies as motivators to then breed that intrinsic to say, I want to keep doing this. I want to see that number change, or I want to see that notification with confetti to say, yes, you met your goal, and all those things.
Yeah, you use the term bridging the gap, and I love that as a way from going from motivation to habit. And it sounds like Project Power really has a lot of things embedded in it that allow one to come in motivated and make that bridge that sustains us, that lifts us up and holds us up until the point when the habits themselves, David, like you talked about, brushing your teeth every day, it is a habit that is sustainable in and of itself. And we often need those external motivators to get us there. Sarah, any other thoughts that you have at this point?
I'm sold. This sounds like an incredible program, and I imagine many of our listeners are interested in potentially joining or getting more information about it. For those who want to learn more or join, how do they do that? What's the process for getting signed up? Adrienne, do you have any tips?
On the youth side, ADA is always looking for community partners and people to come to say, we want to bring this program to our school, to our community group, to our youth group. And so if you just go to the website and click on Project Power, they actually have a form that's pretty easy to complete that will ask about how many people are you looking to do this with? Is it in person? Is it virtual? All the things. And they literally ship everything to you. They give you all the tools. You're able to implement this in a way that makes it easy and makes it sustainable for your community on the youth side. David, do you want to share a little bit on the adult side?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the adult side, what I always like to emphasize is that the ADA is always looking for community partners. These partners can actually find a way to find maybe someone within the organization to actually implement the Project Power, or they can actually do it virtually. It's totally up to the organization. But in addition to that, it serves as a community program. So for faith-based organizations that may not have a health and fitness ministry, this is something that they can utilize to develop that internal community that promotes health and wellness within the respective health-based community or any community. I've worked with schools, I've worked with faith-based communities. They are out there. And so Project Power and through the ADA, I mean, it's very easy to enroll, like Adrienne said. On top of that, it is something that brings communities together, and it helps adults who may be struggling with having access to so much information on the internet that they become utterly confused, to actually have that health coach that the program provides to actually help with steering them in a positive direction, something that's going to help them with improving their A1C levels, their LDL, HDL levels, things of that sort, and just improve overall health. Going to diabetes.org/Project Power is very easy for individuals and for organizations to enroll.
We've covered a lot of ground. We've only got a few minutes left now. Adrienne, any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners?
Sure. I would just encourage listeners to, one, start small. As we talked about earlier, find the type of movement that you enjoy. Don't do what everyone else is doing. Find what you like. I get a lot of questions from individuals who are getting started and they want to ask, what's the best kind of exercise? What's the best kind of workout? The response is the best kind is the one that you'll do. So find the one that you enjoy and one that you'll stick with. And secondly, I would say to find people who can support your goals. It's hard to go back into a setting where others may not have their health as a priority. Not saying to cut those people off, but to get a community of people around you that can support what you're looking to do with your mind, with your body, with your health, so that they can help be that external motivation when you need it.
Good advice. David, your thoughts for our listeners.
Yeah, for our listeners, I just encourage you to be unconventional. Instead of forcing structured exercise, I recommend that you redefine movement altogether. Stop thinking of it as something that you have to do. Instead, thinking of it as something that you get to do. Here you are, you have life, you have the ability. So an expression of gratitude, I think, is very important for your body. Integrate movement organically, as we've talked about. Dance randomly, stretch spontaneously, take short, curious walks through your neighborhood, and just enjoy life because, this is the one-stop shop here. And just make sure that you take care of your body because the thing is, it's going to literally carry you through life. So the best thing that I can recommend for all of you is just take it one day at a time.
David, one stop shop. This is great. And your emphasis on enjoying the approach is just so critical in sustaining that approach. Sarah, any final thoughts you'd like to share?
I'm so inspired and I love the ideas today. One thing I think I might implement for myself is building in some of those extrinsic rewards to tie to that intrinsic. So, see what kind of prize I can get after consistently exercising for a period of time. So, I love that idea and I hope our listeners will think about implementing the ideas we've talked about today too.
This has been such an important episode. Adrienne, David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Neil, Sarah, thank you so much. I've enjoyed it. Look forward to the next episode.
And the biggest thanks, of course, goes, as always, to our audience. This is such an important topic, and I think we've heard so much. This is an episode I'm going to listen to a couple of times because there's just so much here, from making sure what you do is enjoyable to the importance of talking to our kids about screen time and letting them find out for themselves the wonders that are available if they put away that screen a little bit. Project Power is doing so much for so many people. Whether you choose to enroll in Project Power, whether you choose to find your community elsewhere in order to move more and eat properly, whatever it takes, we're hearing some hints today about how to do that, and most importantly, how to sustain what we do. And it's through sustainable habits that we continue to live healthy lives. For the American Diabetes Association, I'm Dr. Neil Skolnik. Thanks for listening.